First question.
Thoughts on how today went?
I thought it was okay. You know, we started slow. I thought the offense was not very good early. You know, I just didn't think we had a great mindset coming out of our kicking period. You know, and I think, thought the defense really played well. And then later on, I thought the offense started to play a little better. We got into the red zone period. I thought the offense played well in the red zone period. The defense struggled a little bit. So, you know, it's what you want to see. You want to see both sides, having success. And so I thought it was good. I thought it was, coming off of a day off, it just wasn't quite what we needed earlier.
Coach, has an offense come on late? You saw?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, just some of the normal guys have had a good camp. I think Myron Galliard's had a really good camp. Tyler Page, Tommy McIntyre. Those are some guys that stick out. I really like the freshman running backs. I think those guys all have a chance to be good players. I think Tamarik's much improved. Offensively, on the offensive line, we're starting to get a little more consistent. Still missing too many things, but I think I'm starting to feel pretty good about the first group, and then the second group, we got some moving parts. We just got to get those guys settled in. But that's still where we got to build most of our depth is up front. We feel like we've got quite a bit of depth offensively, pretty much everywhere else, but we just got to continue to find 6, 7, 8, 9, hopefully 10 guys that we feel good about that can go out there and get it done for us.
Who's competing for the punting position right now?
Well, it's kind of open competition. We're letting everybody compete right now. We'll kind of see. We saw some good things today. I think we finally saw the guys hit the ball like they're capable of doing at times today. We're just not as consistent as we need to be. So we're looking at everybody right now. We're going to see kind of how it plays out, and then start to narrow those reps down as we have enough film to evaluate.
How are y'all liking the new indoor practice facility?
Yeah, the Armstrong Fieldhouse has been really good for us. I mean, I think it's, we've been able to split some practices, get in there and get out of the heat. We've gone 24 periods and had longer practices. We had almost a 3-hour practice earlier in the week, and we got a lot of work done. There because we got about halfway through practice and then made the transition over there, and our guys were fresh and got us out of the heat enough where we were able to finish practice really strong. We got to balance it. I mean, obviously we used it on Saturday and Sunday when we had some inclement weather, and it was great to be able to go in there and get work. So it's been a really, really important part of what we're trying to get done. It just allows us to get really good reps going inside, climate controlled atmosphere. And so we've got to do a good job of balancing, getting out in the heat, and at the same time keeping our guys fresh and getting inside.
Have any position battles become any clearer after this first week?
You're starting to see some things, start to smooth out a little bit. Particularly, I think with the offensive line, and then, defensively, I think we've got so much depth in certain positions. We've got a lot of depth at the D-line position. But you're starting to see some guys emerge a little bit, and then on the backfield as well. We have a lot of new faces back there, and as we start putting more and more stuff in, some of the young guys start to get a little bit overwhelmed. And you start to see some of the older guys make a move, but we just gotta keep moving forward. I think overall, I think we've got depth pretty much at every position. I'm a little concerned about our depth at linebacker and in the offensive line.
At what point would you like to have some of the starters' positions finalized?
Well, the one thing about what we do is there'll be guys battling for starting jobs really up until the day before practice. You know what I mean? I mean, I think that's the thing that we try to do is no one's job's ever really safe. It just depends on your performance day in, day out. And so the good thing is we've got good competition. I think it's bringing out the best in our guys. And we have guys that are working through some of the being a little bit banged up. Some of the guys have been a little bit banged up. Now are working through because they need to get out there and practice. They know if they're not practicing, then somebody else is, and they're going to take their spot. And I think that's the difference in kind of what we're doing, this year as opposed to what we were doing last year.
How is Coach Joyner fitting into his new role at defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, Randall's done a great job with that. I mean, I think the good thing is he's got a lot of help. Steph McClure is a really good young football coach, and Blake Brockermeyer does a great job as well. And so he's got a lot of help, capable guys that can kind of help set of eyes and see all four of the D linemen. But the good thing about Randall, I mean, it's when your coach ends, there's you got a pretty good idea of how how all four need to operate together. And that's one thing that I think is always important is whether it's your defensive front or whether it's your receivers or whether it's your defensive backfield. All four of those guys in the backfield and a D-line, all four of those guys need to be able to operate together, need to be on the same page, need to have an understanding of what they're supposed to do, together, because there's guys are counting on other guys to do their job, and so that's a big part of him taking over that position. And he's done a great job. He's enthusiastic. He's detailed. He works really hard. And he's done a great job with those guys.
Anything else?
Coach, what are you liking out of guys like Brandon Stevens, Kedrick Davis?
Yeah, well, we've got
Ryan
we got a lot of transfers. I think that when you look at it, when you start looking at whether it's Cam Jones at safety or Kedrick at tight end. Today was his second day in helmets, so he'll be able to put on shoulder pads tomorrow. Or all those guys, Chevin Callaway, and there's just a lot of new faces that we have, and I like what I'm seeing out of those guys. I mean, they're, I think they've played, big time football, and they know, kind of what it takes to be good. And I think they have a clear understanding of that. I think that Brandon Stevens' case, I think he's a really good athlete. He's got good size. He can run. He's 215 pounds, and he's a physical corner. And I think that's when you go back and you look at some of our issues we had defensively last year. We didn't tackle well at the corner position, and we weren't very physical. And we were playing with some 160-pound guys, and now we got a guy that's a little more physical, a lot bigger. It's hard on a receiver when he gets his hands on you because he is big and he is strong. So when you just start looking at all of them, those guys are going to be a tremendous help to our program. When you just take a look at all our transfers, those guys are going to be good players for us. So it's something that I don't know that any of us anticipated the numbers that we have and maybe the quality of guys we've been able to add through the transfer portal, but it's something that we'll continue to do and will be a big part of our program moving forward.
Have you all started preparing for ASU yet?
As coaches we have, obviously our game plans are pretty much done. There'll be some adjustments made as some of our personnel emerges and we figure out what they can handle and can't handle. We'll start working for those guys specifically in about a week and a half, where we start splitting scouts and start taking a look at it. But like I said, I think our coaches have a pretty good idea what we want to do, and what we're trying to do now is make sure that the game plan we have fits our personnel, and we're not asking guys to do what they can't do.
Anything else? All right.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Okay.